At 3:30 a.m. this morning, in the freezing darkness of the North Dakota plains, a convoy of heavy trucks turned off Highway 83 and approached the main gate of Minot Air Force Base. These were not enemy vehicles. They were painted in the camouflage of the U.S. Army. They were driven by American citizens. But when they reached the checkpoint, they did not salute the Air Force security personnel manning the gate. They stopped. They parked. And then they deployed concrete barriers. Within 20 minutes, the exits were blocked. Within an hour, the perimeter was secured. And by sunrise, the Governor of North Dakota sent a message to the White House that made the blood run cold in the veins of every general in the Pentagon. The message was simple. You froze our bank accounts. We have frozen your missiles. Good morning. I am Jack Cross. We have entered the nightmare scenario. This is no longer a civil dispute. It is no longer a financial war. As of this morning, the United States government has lost physical control over 1/3 of its nuclear triad. We are calling this a broken arrow event, the military code for a nuclear accident or incident that does not create the risk of war, but threatens the public. But frankly, that term isn't strong enough. This isn't an accident. This is a hostage situation, and the hostages are 150 Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles. To understand the gravity of what is happening right now, we have to talk about Minot. This base is legendary. It is the only base in the country that houses both B-52 bombers and ICBM silos. It is the tip of the American spear. Under normal circumstances, it is the most secure real estate on planet Earth. But these are not normal circumstances. The Governor of North Dakota has activated the 164th Engineer Battalion of the National Guard. These are local boys. They live in these towns. They know the roads. And under the governor's orders, they have established a safety perimeter around the base and, crucially, around the dispersed missile silos scattered across the farmland. Here is the twist that makes this situation so incredibly dangerous. The governor is not threatening to launch the missiles. He can't. He doesn't have the codes. The launch keys are held by Air Force officers deep underground who answer only to the president. Instead, the governor is doing something much smarter and much more terrifying. He is denying access. You see, a nuclear missile is not like a bullet you put in a gun and leave in a drawer. It is a living, breathing machine. It requires constant maintenance. It requires cooling. It requires power checks. Every single day, convoys of maintenance teams leave Minot Air Force Base to drive out to the silos to service these weapons. Today, those convoys were stopped. At 6 a.m., a federal maintenance crew tried to leave the base to service a launch facility near the Canadian border. They were met by a line of National Guard Humvees and state police cruisers. They were turned back at gunpoint. The governor's ultimatum is brutal. Restore the banking access to North Dakota, unfreeze the assets of our citizens, or we will let these missiles rot in their holes. The White House is currently in a state of absolute panic. I have sources telling me that the Situation Room has been locked down since 4 a.m. They are looking at the maps and realizing they have no good options. Think about it from the president's perspective. What can he do? Option 1. He federalizes the National Guard. He signs a piece of paper that says, "You work for me now." But we saw this in Florida yesterday. The troops are ignoring the order. They are loyal to their neighbors, to their families, to their governor. If the president issues an order that is ignored, he looks weak. Option 2. He sends in the regular army. He sends in the Marines. But how do you do that? Do you invade North Dakota? Do you order a tank column to roll over a line of state troopers? We are talking about Americans killing Americans on top of active nuclear warheads. One stray bullet, one RPG hitting a fuel tank, and you could have a radiological disaster that wipes out the Midwest. Option 3. He negotiates. He blinks. He turns the banking system back on. But if he does that, he loses. He admits that a state governor can blackmail the federal government with its own weapons. If he caves now, what stops Texas from seizing the oil refineries? What stops Nevada from seizing Area 51? The authority of the presidency dissolves overnight. So we are in a standoff, a staring contest with thermonuclear stakes. Let's dig deeper into the hostage strategy. The governor knows he can't crack the codes. The encrypted links to the missiles are unhackable, but he controls the last mile. The silos run on grid power with backup generators. We are hearing reports that the local power cooperatives, under state pressure, are threatening to cut the hard lines to the silos. If that happens, the missiles switch to diesel generators. Those generators need fuel trucks, and the National Guard controls the roads. If those generators run out of fuel, the cooling systems fail. If the cooling systems fail, the guidance computers overheat. The delicate electronics fry. The warhead becomes unstable. This is a slow-motion disaster. The governor is essentially putting a gun to the head of the American nuclear deterrent and saying, "I will pull the trigger in slow motion over the next 2 weeks unless you give me my money back." It is economic warfare met with nuclear blackmail. Now let's talk about the people inside the base. Minot Air Force Base is a city within a city. There are thousands of airmen, officers, and their families living there. They are now effectively under siege. They can't leave. No food trucks are coming in. I spoke to a wife of a B-52 mechanic inside the base about an hour ago via encrypted app. She told me the mood inside is terrified. They aren't afraid of the Russians. They aren't afraid of the Chinese. They are afraid of the North Dakota National Guard. "We are surrounded by our own neighbors," she said. "The guy manning the roadblock outside the gate, my husband plays softball with him on Tuesdays. Now they are pointing rifles at each other." This is the tragedy of a civil conflict. It isn't stranger against stranger. It is friend against friend. The Pentagon has issued a statement calling the governor's actions domestic terrorism and treason. They have stated that interfering with the National Command Authority is a capital offense. They are using language we haven't heard since the 1860s, but words don't move trucks. And right now, the trucks aren't moving. There is another player in this game that we have to consider: the silo crews. These are the young officers, the missileers, sitting in capsules 60 feet underground. They work in 24-hour shifts. They are locked behind blast doors that can withstand a nuclear hit. Usually, they are relieved every 24 hours. A fresh crew drives out, they swap keys, and the tired crew goes home. Today, the relief crews never arrived. So now, you have young men and women, underground, exhausted, watching the world fall apart on their monitors. They are cut off from their families. They are being told by the president that their state is in rebellion. They are being told by their governor that they are protecting their state's rights. Psychologically, this is the breaking point. We trust these people with the power to end civilization. We vet them for stability. But nobody is vetted for this. Nobody is trained for the moment when their governor tells them to stand down and their president tells them to stand by. What happens if a crew decides to open the door? What happens if a crew decides to defect? That is the scenario that keeps the Joint Chiefs of Staff awake at night. The rogue crew scenario. If a missileer decides that the federal government has become tyrannical and they have the keys, it gets complicated. They can't launch alone. It takes 2 votes, and usually an outside enable code, but they can disable the missile. They can spike the weapon, making it useless to the president. We are seeing reports of special forces mobilizing. Delta Force, the Navy SEALs. They are moving to forward staging areas in South Dakota and Minnesota. The rumors are swirling that the president is planning a lightning strike, a synchronized nighttime raid to retake the silos. Helicopters, fast ropes, flashbangs, the whole Hollywood movie script. But think about the geography. The silos aren't all in one place. They are spread out over thousands of square miles of farmland. To retake them all, you would need to launch simultaneous raids on 150 different locations. It is logically impossible. You would need an army. And the governor knows this. He knows he has the tactical advantage. He has the home field. Let's zoom out to the international reaction, because the world is watching this with absolute horror. The Russian Federation has placed its own nuclear forces on high alert. Why? Because from their perspective, the U.S. nuclear command and control system is fracturing. They don't know who has the finger on the button anymore. If a missile launches from North Dakota by accident during a firefight, does Russia know it was an accident? Or do they assume it's an attack and launch everything they have back at us? The stability of the entire world relies on the certainty of the American nuclear chain of command. Today, that certainty is gone. The chain is broken. China has issued a travel warning, urging its citizens to leave the American Midwest immediately. They are treating North Dakota like a war zone. And what about the people of North Dakota? The civilians? Panic buying has stripped the shelves in Bismarck and Fargo. But it's not just food they are buying, it's iodine tablets, it's Geiger counters. People are terrified that the federal government might try to destroy the silos to prevent them from falling into rebel hands. It sounds insane. Would the president bomb his own state? But in the logic of nuclear strategy, denial of assets is a real protocol. If you can't secure the nuke, you destroy it before the enemy can use it. The people of North Dakota are wondering if they are about to become collateral damage in a game of political chicken. The governor has called a press conference for 6 p.m. tonight. He is expected to double down. He has released photos of the National Guard digging in. They are building trenches. They are setting up anti-aircraft batteries around the silos. He is treating these missiles as the ultimate bargaining chip. The crown jewels. This is the ultimate failure of the federal system. The Constitution was designed to balance power between the states and the federal government. It gave the feds the sword and the states the purse. But now, the states have grabbed the sword, and the president is holding an empty scabbard. We have to ask ourselves, how does this end? There are only 2 ways out of a room like this. 1, the president caves. He restores the banking access. He admits that the executive order was a mistake. He withdraws the Treasury sanctions. The governor declares victory, the trucks move, the relief crews go in, and the crisis ends. But the presidency is permanently weakened. Every state now knows the blueprint. Grab a federal asset, and you get what you want. 2, the president escalates. He declares the North Dakota National Guard to be enemy combatants. He authorizes the use of lethal force. He sends in the 101st Airborne, and we have a shooting war at the gates of a nuclear base. If shots are fired, if a mortar round hits a fuel tank, if a silo door is breached, we aren't talking about politics anymore. We are talking about physics. We are talking about a radioactive cloud drifting over Chicago, over Detroit, over New York. This is the precipice. We are standing on the edge of the cliff, looking down, and the ground is crumbling under our feet. For those of you listening in the affected areas, stay away from the bases, stay away from the silos. Do not try to intervene. The rules of engagement are deadly serious. Both sides are on a hair trigger. For the rest of the country, look at your bank account, look at your family, and ask yourself, was freezing the money worth this? Was trying to crush a political rival worth risking a nuclear accident? The governor of North Dakota has made his move. He has played the ace of spades. Now, we wait for the president to play his card. Will it be a white flag, or will it be a declaration of war? The clock is ticking, the generators are running, and the world is holding its breath. I'm Jack Cross. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and God help us all.